everyone? This is Brandon Lewis from Brandon's World, and I just want to let you know that for this NFL quarterback minute to win it today, which is, of course, our fourth straight year doing this game, I am not going to be appearing on camera due to the challenging nature of editing this kind of podcast for video, where essentially I'm switching back and forth between multiple tabs between the audio and the Western participants, and with my audio mixing in with the music, the way the video editor would be simplified as would be me playing the entire audio, which is B-roll over it, as opposed to obviously me on camera with then audio and B-roll over it as well. It just gets too convoluted for my time as well as my editing skills. So with that being said, I'm not going to be on camera for this. You are not mistaken. It is just going to be B-roll on the minute to win it logo, and then we'll get to obviously each of the quarterbacks and each of the team's decisions. So I hope you understand, but I hope you enjoy NFL minute to win it QB 2024. So without further ado, the first contestant this year will be the Chicago Bears. They have, of course, Justin Fields. They also have the number one overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. What are they going to do? I have a minute to win it.
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
So I personally think that the Chicago Bears are going to draft Caleb Williams, number one overall, and eventually trade Justin Fields. I know there's a lot of people out there that think Justin Fields is a good quarterback. He just needs more talent and a more offensive lenient coaching staff. And while I agree to that to a certain extent, Justin Fields' best attribute is running right now. It's not passing. He's been given ample opportunities in Chicago, and Caleb Williams is a generational, cannot miss prospect in my opinion. I'm not as bothered by him whining, after games and refusing to speak to the media. To me, it just shows the passion he is. And I think the Bears, that have been a defensive leading franchise for so long, should finally embrace offense with Caleb Williams. They're the number 9 overall pick as well to add another weapon. I think Caleb Williams will be in Chicago and Justin Fields will be somewhere else in 2024. And boom, that is right up against the clock. So, now that we've done that, now that you guys know that obviously I believe Chicago will be trading Justin Fields, before we get to Justin Fields, let's go through what each of the other teams in the draft that are quarterback needy, where are these other quarterbacks, such as, Jaden McDaniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Drake May, going to go? Without further ado, here is the Washington Commanders with the number 2 overall pick.
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
So at number 2, now I don't think he's the number 2 best prospect in this draft, but I think the Commanders, with new head coach Dan Quinn, are going to go ahead and draft Drake May out of North Carolina. Drake May, to me, he reminds me a lot of Mitch Trubisky, which ironically, obviously, the Bears drafted in 2017. But I don't see a lot of special with Drake May. He reminds me a little bit of Mitch Trubisky. He reminds me a little bit of Will Levis. Kind of the showmanship, not humble. And I think that stuff matters. And the fact that there is concerns, and there's not universal consensus, I should say, around Drake May worries me. But Washington absolutely needs to go get a quarterback. Sam Howell is not the answer. They need a fresh restart now. New coach, new ownership. I think Drake May will be tasked to save the franchise with Kingsbury as his OC. And we are right there with 60 seconds. So the Commanders with the number 2 pick again, I believe that they go Drake May. So the question is, what do the New England Patriots do at number 3?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
And then I believe the New England Patriots will be selecting Jaden McDaniels out of LSU. McDaniel's a little bit different for the New England system. You know, they've been used to obviously Brady and then Mac Jones. They tried the 1 year with Cam Newton with Belichick. It did not work. So this is a new regime. Alex Van Pelt, OC. Gerard Mayo, head coach. This is going to be a team that's going to look different. It's going to be a little bit less than Bill. I think Gerard Mayo is more attached to the offensive side of the ball than Belichick. And, you know, I get it. They don't have any receivers. They could very easily drop Marvin Harrison. But Mac Jones is not the answer to the quarterback position. Bailey Zappi is not the answer to the quarterback position. You can spend money eventually on receivers and linemen and find them in the draft. You have to nail this quarterback, and the best chance you have is to go get a mobile guy who can run around, which I believe the answer to that is Jaden McDaniels. And boom, again, right there, 60 seconds on the clock. So, I think Caleb Williams goes number 1. I think Drake May goes number 2. I think Jaden McDaniels goes number 3 to New England. The next question is, where does the next quarterback land?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
And I believe the next quarterback will land with the number 12 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft when the Denver Broncos select J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. Yes, I know this is out of left field. Absolutely. Will J.J. McCarthy would go to the division that Jim Harbaugh is currently coaching with the Chargers. There's a lot of disputes out there with J.J. McCarthy. Some people think he could be a first or second round pick. Some people think he's a top 10 potential pick. I like J.J. McCarthy's intangibles, and apparently so does Sean Payton. And no matter what they say, the fact that Denver benched Russell Wilson prior to the end of last season tells me they're going to take that dead money. They're going to cut Russell Wilson. He will not be the franchise quarterback in Denver. He's not going to be there next year. And Sean Payton's going to move forward with a rookie quarterback for the first time in his career with a guy who won a national championship in J.J. McCarthy. And again, 60 seconds right there on the clock. So right after Denver, the next pick is the Las Vegas Raiders. Obviously, they cut Jimmy Garoppolo. Aiden O'Connell, we know, is not the answer. He couldn't even complete a pass after the first quarter on that Christmas Day game when they beat the Chiefs. So what are the Raiders going to do at the quarterback position?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
So I think Vegas, they go on and they draft who I think is, the second best quarterback in this draft for my money is Bo Nix. Bo Nix reminds me a ton of Justin Herbert. Again, in the same division, AFC West. And the Raiders, I like their roster. We talk about it a lot, right? Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Jacoby Myers at the receiving position. Max Crosby, Tyree Wilson anchoring the defensive line. They do need secondary help, yes. But the most important position they need is quarterback. Their offensive line needs some pieces here and there. Left tackle Colton Miller is very good. We'll see what they do with the running back position. But this team won 8-9 games last year with very uneven quarterback play. If they can get steady quarterback play with Bo Nix, who's out of Oregon, the same school Justin Herbert went to, big, strong arm with the right coaching behind him with Antonio Pierce's staff, I think Bo Nix and the Las Vegas Raiders could be something for real here. That's the direction they go. And 60 seconds have reached the clock. Okay, so Caleb Williams has been drafted. Drake May has been drafted. Jaden McDaniels has been drafted. J.J. McCarthy has been drafted. Bo Nix has been drafted. There is one more potential quarterback to go in the first round. That is Michael Penix. And so the question is, where does he land?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
So I think no matter there's a trade-up scenario, which I think it could happen here with the Chargers being at number 5 and this team needing a quarterback, I think without a question, Michael Penix should be the next quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. A roster with a new head coach in Mike McDonald, a defensive guy, yes, but they are ready to win. And Mike McDonald got a good look at Lamar Jackson the last couple of years when he was in Baltimore. I think he's going to like what Michael Penix brings to the table. He can run, he can pass him very accurately. I think he needs to be in the right system. A lot of short passes. But they have young tackles, Noah Fant, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Kenneth Walker. The pieces are there if you get the right quarterback to insert. I think Penix also playing at Washington, being from that area fits. I think it's a perfect scheme fit for him. And I think Michael Penix to Seattle would be the right fit for the Seahawks, whether it's at 16 or they trade up. And so with that, the 6 young rookie quarterbacks will be off the board. So now that we know that, let's find out where Justin Fields ends up.
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
So I've been saying this for weeks on the show. I think Justin Fields next year will be the starting quarterback of Raheem Morris's Atlanta Falcons. Justin Fields, was originally in Georgia, then transferred to Ohio State, but he's from that area. The fact that he gets in with a good roster, better roster than he had in Chicago, great running back, good receivers, better offensive line, better defense overall. I think it's a really good fit for him. And for Atlanta, they are in a weak division, weaker than the NFC North. I think Justin Fields will do very well in a dome environment as well. We're also the Saints are in a dome, and obviously Tampa and Carolina are not that cold out. Just being, in a warm weather environment, we can run around, use Bijan Robinson, use those weapons with a coach that will know how to utilize him in Raheem Morris. I think it's a perfect fit for a team that's not going to be in striking range to get a quarterback unless they trade up. I think Atlanta should go after Justin Fields. So if I have Justin Fields staying in Atlanta, that was one of the teams that if Bill Belichick took the job that Kirk Cousins would go to. So, does Kirk Cousins stay in Minnesota?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
And that answer is yes. I know there's some thought out there that the Vikings could draft the quarterback, but I mentioned the teams more likely to draft the quarterback than them, in my opinion. Denver, Vegas, Seattle, and then obviously the 3 teams at the top. So Justin Jefferson said he wants Kirk Cousins back. He wants to sign an extension, and I think clearly him and Kevin O'Connell have a great working relationship. Kirk Cousins is probably the 13th best quarterback in football. He's going to win you a lot of games. He's going to probably get you to the playoffs, and he might win you one playoff game. We know what Kirk Cousins' ceiling is, but Minnesota, with their roster, yes, they need help on defense, but they have good offensive pieces. They have a good young head coach. They can't really start over, and so I get the concerns without giving Kirk Cousins guaranteed money, but I do think that Captain Kirk does eventually land back in Minnesota. And look at that, 4 seconds to spare on the countdown for that one. So, Kirk Cousins staying in Minnesota. Justin Fields now to Atlanta. So, Pittsburgh, they have been linked to Russell Wilson. As I talked about with Denver, I think they draft J.J. McCarthy and move on from Russell Wilson. But what are the Steelers? They had Mitch Trubisky last year. They had Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph. What the hell are they going to do at the quarterback position?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
And the answer here is a really dumb one because I don't think they should do it. But I'm going to listen to what the local reporters in Pittsburgh are saying. And I am going to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have an open competition between Kenny Pickett, and Mason Rudolph, not Mitch Trubisky, who they cut, for the QB competition. I don't think they're going to go after Russell Wilson, which I think is a mistake. When you're in a division with Joe Burrow healthy, Lamar Jackson healthy, and Deshaun Watson healthy, you are clearly 4th best in your division at the quarterback position. I don't care whether or not your defense wins championships, culture exists or not. You have 2 diva wide receivers, and Russell Wilson's played with defensive coaches. He had good numbers last year under Sean Payton. He's not going to make mistakes, which I think would fit Pittsburgh. I don't think it would make them better, but I think it'd be better than what they're going to do, which I believe is if Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph compete in the quarterback position to decide who is the worst quarterback in the AFC North. And we just went over there by about 2 seconds. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh's a disaster at the quarterback position. Now, we talked about Atlanta. getting an upgrade with Justin Fields, I believe, a quarterback. So let's take a look at the other two NFC South teams who could potentially move on from their quarterback, but will they? Let's first take a look at Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints.
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
So no, I don't think the Saints are going to move on from Derek Carr, even though I think they should. Listen, I didn't trust Dennis Allen as a head coach. I knew it was going to be a disaster for the Saints, even though now this is year 3 somehow for him there in New Orleans. Their roster is good on both sides of the ball, and they obviously have a very good defense because of Allen. I was shocked last year, especially in the weak division that was the NFC South, how bad Derek Carr was. At times, Jameis Winston was the better quarterback, and I know he has a relationship with Dennis Allen dating back to their Oakland Raider days. But Derek Carr looked washed. Vegas looked like they made the right decision moving on, which I was shocked by because I was always a Derek Carr defender. But at the end of the day, he's not an up-tier quarterback even in the weaker NFC at this point, and the Saints are just going to stay a mediocre franchise, I believe, by giving Derek Carr one more year, even though they should have turned the page on him and Dennis Allen at the end of this season. Hit that with about 59-second mark. So we talked about Dennis Allen and Derek Carr. Let's talk about Baker Mayfield, Todd Bowles, and the Tampa Bay Bucks.
The game begins in 3, 2.
So yeah, I do think that Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to come to an agreement. Now, me and my partner over on Championship Rings, Josh Unger, have debated whether Baker Mayfield deserves a long-term contract or not. I would not give him a long-term deal. We've seen what Baker Mayfield does with expectations, aka what he was in Cleveland. But Baker Mayfield not under pressure in the NFC South, hiding out with those two good receivers, especially if they keep Mike Evans. I mean, it was a good team. There's a reason why they were the best team in the NFC South last year and won the division. I think if they keep continuity, now obviously they have a new offensive coordinator after Dave Canales left for Carolina, but I think Tampa's a very good team, and I think Baker Mayfield played his way into one more year as the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we did that with about 49 seconds, so 11 seconds to spare. Okay, so I want to talk about a team that, not a lot of people are talking about. They're in the AFC South, and I don't think they're going to be very good next year. That team being the Tennessee Titans. Their two quarterbacks are Will Levis and Malik Willis. They clearly need to upgrade the quarterback position. They have a new head coach in Brian Cowan, the former offensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals. The question is, will they upgrade the quarterback position?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
And I think that answer is no. I think that they are going to give Will Levis one more year the way the Commanders gave Sam Howell with Eric Bieniemy 1 year this year. And I think it's a mistake. I think Anthony Richardson was the right pick by the Colts last year. C.J. Stroud is clearly wild in Houston. And Trevor Lawrence is still a very good quarterback in Jacksonville. Will Levis, I said at the time when he came out of the draft, I did not think he was going to be a good NFL quarterback. There was rumors he could go in the top 5. He ended up dropping to the second round between the gun show and the strong arm, but the inaccuracies. I just don't see it, and I like Malik Willis a little more to Liberty than most people, but I don't think Tennessee really gave him a fair chance. The Titans roster is bad. It's why they fired Vrabel. They need a reset. They need to move on from Derrick Henry. They need to get bad. They need to get a top pick for next year's draft. But I think they're going to try to convince themselves to give them one more year of Will Levis. And with that, pretty much nailed it right there with 60 seconds on the clock. So we only have a couple more to go. So we've talked about all these teams. Obviously, the teams that I think are drafting a quarterback: Chicago, Washington, New England, Denver, Vegas, Seattle. I think Atlanta ends up with Justin Fields. I think Minnesota ends up with Kirk Cousins. Even though I think Pittsburgh should, I don't think Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, for that matter, is going to be in a Steeler uniform. I think the Saints, Bucks, and Tennessee all retain their current quarterbacks of Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, and Will Levis. So where does that leave a guy like Russell Wilson?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
So this may shock you, but I think Russell Wilson is going to take the Cam Newton route next year. And I think Russell Wilson will not be on an NFL team to start next season. I think Russell Wilson's brand is too big to be a backup. I think Russell Wilson has almost too much, maybe egotistical pride to be a backup in the NFL. And I think he got so much flack from the way he entered in Denver and just getting abused his first season with Nat Hackett to the way the ending is with Sean Payton. I don't think somebody is going to want to invest a lot in Russell Wilson. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe he'll take a cheap deal in Pittsburgh and compete for the job. Who knows? But he does not have a large market. And if you have a choice between a guy like Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, or even a rookie, maybe an unproven guy over Russell Wilson, I would do it. I think the only scenario Russell Wilson may be an upgrade is Will Levis in Tennessee, but I don't think they do it. And again, 60 seconds on the clock. So we went through all these quarterbacks, right? Veterans, rookies. The one guy I did not name, this is the last guy on our list today, ladies and gentlemen. The guy who last year got paid by the Las Vegas Raiders to be their franchise quarterback was obviously not. He's been suspended 2 games for violating the NFL PED policy. Where does Jimmy Garoppolo end up next year?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
So I think unlike Russell Wilson, Jimmy G is really good in the room. He's been used to being benched. Obviously, Baker Brady in New England was benched in San Francisco there, looking for a little bit for Trey Lance. And knows the Brock Purdy situation. I think there's a couple scenarios where Jimmy Garoppolo could end up being a backup. Obviously, back in San Francisco is an option, though I think they're having with Sam Darnold. I do think that being a backup to Aaron Rodgers with the Jets would not be a bad option, especially with Aaron's injury history. But I actually think he ends up back in New England. I don't think Mac Jones, he may get, a backup job somewhere next year, which I don't know where he'd land because he's bad in the room. But I think Jimmy is good in the room. I think he'd be very good to a rookie, has a relationship with that coaching staff and Gerard Mayo, knows the New England culture. I think Jimmy G as a backup to McDaniels or whoever they would draft for that matter would be a good fit. And with that, that was NFL quarterback minute to win it 2024. As a quick recap, I have Chicago taking Caleb Williams, Washington Drake May, New England Jaden Daniels, Denver JJ McCarthy, Vegas Bo Nix, Seattle Michael Penix. I have Justin Fields being traded to Atlanta. Minnesota will be retained with Kirk Cousins. Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph will battle it out in Pittsburgh for the starting job. New Orleans retains Derek Carr. Tampa retains Baker Mayfield. Tennessee retains Will Levis. Russell Wilson, I don't believe will be in an NFL team to start next year. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo will be backing up either Jaden McDaniels or whoever the New England Patriots draft. I hope you all enjoyed this 2024 NFL edition of Quarterback Minute to Win It, and I cannot wait to do it again next year. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.